something she already understood, which is why she showed the chalice to John, who was amazed. However, it was embarrassing for him that she was looking at it. She wanted to know if that was the chalice that collided with her that day. Ye recalled the incident that had made everything clear to everyone. John also wanted to know if that was the chalice he used to bless the other girls, including her, which Yai confirmed. Still, John seemed thoughtful, comparing it to the more splendid and heavier chalices she had seen in videos. Seeing Yai's chalice, which was lighter and prettier, she whispered why it was like that. John understood that a chalice could change depending on its bearer's mood. Though she asked if it could be changed, Yai admitted it could, but was too tired from praying with Zoe and didn't believe he could do it at that moment. John didn't take this well, thinking it meant she wasn't lovely, though Yai didn't mean that. John was aware of this since she didn't consider herself as pretty as Luna or as stylish as Zoe. However, she allowed herself to claim two significant qualities that the other two girls didn't have, which Yai confirmed, causing her chalice to start glowing. John was intrigued because, despite Yai saying he couldn't change it, the boy wanted her to relax since it could be dangerous. Despite promising not to perform a mass but to study how people could believe in a god, Yai couldn't resist and began preaching. His prayers were so strong that they could be heard outside the room, lasting for a considerable time. When the holy water was cast, Yai fainted from all the energy used in his ceremony, worrying John. When Yai finally regained consciousness, John was scolding him for not paying attention to something so important and for not answering her question. She wanted to know if he could stop being pure of heart for someone like her, but Ye didn't fully understand and asked about it, unable to grasp what John meant. Because of this, John didn't want to let him off the hook. She explained how people always saw them as naive since they always escaped during important moments. John didn't want to be called naive ever again and asked Yai if they could both shed their title of pure of heart together. For John, it was the perfect moment for mere mortals like them to pray. So, John stripped Yai of his pure of heart status. Afterward, the boy let out a loud scream, but then suddenly fell asleep, which worried John. She thought it might be an anxiety attack, but ruled it out when Yai started snoring. The boy thought what had just happened was a dream, but was curious to know if John had been fanning him. She admitted she was, having read that it made for a more pleasant sleep. John was grateful for Yai's effort in teaching her things, and Yai was moved to see her returning to being the kind girl she had always been. Even so, Yai wondered if what had just happened had been a dream, because it felt too real. Soon he realized it wasn't, and that it was a memory from the day of the incident they had experienced. Ye now knew that John had started everything that day. Though the girl was somewhat distracted, when Yai asked what was wrong, she simply told him the chalice was glowing. This greatly surprised John because she thought everything had ended. But Yai knew it was due to the memory he had seen. The girl was happy and wanted to ask Yai if it was strange to request to pray again for a while, because she feared he would see her as a weirdo. She wanted to continue studying how her soul rejuvenated and test it. Yai agreed because of the girl's interest, knowing it didn't matter if they prayed once or twice more. In his thoughts, he figured that if he died of exhaustion, it would be the best way to go. Just as they were about to prepare for the mass, John received a call from her father. The next day at the university in room 305, we see Yai, who ultimately couldn't continue the mass after John answered her phone. She asked Yai for some money for a taxi because she urgently needed to go home. Before leaving, John thanked Yai for everything and promised they would pick up where they left off next time. This left Yai a little confused. That's how his night ended. Back in the present, Yai was happy because, in some way, he felt lucky that day. Not only had he graduated a second time in life, but a third as well, and on the same day. He even thought of buying a lottery ticket, given how lucky he felt. But suddenly, someone slammed his desk. It was Luna, who wanted to talk with Yai, surprising him greatly. That same afternoon in the university courtyard, Yai was intrigued about what was happening with Luna and why she suddenly wanted to talk to him, especially since they weren't in the same class. He began to feel uneasy, assuming she was waiting for the end of class to scold him for not attending the meeting the night before. Internally, he was crying because Zoe was supposed to cover for him, and he wondered why she hadn't. Suddenly, he saw Luna lean in while handing him a drink. Instantly, Luna apologized for everything she had done so far, leaving Ye even more confused. Still, Luna continued, admitting that he wasn't the only one at fault and acknowledging her mistakes, saying she had gone too far. She apologized again and handed him the drink, despite feeling embarrassed. She exclaimed that she had already apologized and wanted him to tell Zoe what she had done without lying, since she had done it face to face. She also asked him not to change the story of her apology, further confusing Yai. Later, Yai told Zoe everything that had happened and asked if she had made Luna apologize to him, which Zoe confirmed. Yai wanted to know how she had managed to get someone as stubborn as Luna to apologize. For Zoe, it had been easy. After hearing the story, Yae was surprised that Zoe had been willing to expel Luna, but Zoe clarified that she had only intended to report to the professors that Luna was making club members uncomfortable, which would lead to her reassignment. Now that Luna had apologized, Zoe was confident things would calm down. Zoe admitted that at first, she had planned to ignore Luna and didn't intend to be so harsh. However, Luna irritated her, and that's why she became a little tougher with her, mostly because she couldn't go to the professors and say they had a quarrel among themselves, causing discomfort. Yae took this lightly. Now, with everything settled, Zoe believed it was good that Luna had apologized, since despite her personality, Luna had the best grades at the university and always scored perfect 10s. Zoe noted that Luna carried the club on her back. Without her, they would just be two fools and a boy, which could end poorly. Yae wasn't sure if he was included among the fools. At that moment, Zoe began touching the chalice, which seemed strange to Yae. He asked what she was doing, and Zoe innocently said she was touching the chalice. Yae wasn't questioning why, but rather what was happening, as they were in the club room and someone could see them. Zoe didn't care, but Yae did, worried they'd be caught. Zoe blamed Yae for not properly finishing the previous day's session, and above all, for never returning after John left. Yae apologized, but in his mind, he was relieved that Zoe hadn't waited for him so late. Fortunately, she didn't hold a grudge and wanted to propose something. She suggested going to his room to pray and finish everything they hadn't done before. Yae wondered if that also meant she wanted to hold an entire mass with him that day. Zoe continued, saying she didn't mind doing more than the day before because she wanted to preach as much as she liked. Despite Ye's nervousness, Zoe interpreted it as excitement to start and proposed beginning the mass right there. Ye pulled her away, apologizing, leaving Zoe confused. He explained he had class in 10 minutes and couldn't do it right then. Zoe was impressed because it was the only safe day for them. Ye thought the same but had class with Professor B, who had warned that no one could be late or skip class. 2 late arrivals or 1 absence would mean failing the course. For Zoe, that was crazy, though she was interested in continuing after his class. Yae interrupted, saying he'd finish at 4 p.m., which for Zoe meant waiting 4 hours. Yae was willing to go straight to Zoe's house after class. However, Zoe began taking off her shoes, leaving Yae confused. She explained she had a brilliant idea. Yae admired how clean Zoe's shoes were, and she suggested he wear them on his head during class. She believed the professor would see him as crazy and expel him, which wouldn't count as an absence. Shocked, started laughing but grabbed the shoes to throw them out the window, something Zoe stopped him from doing. She told him he was so annoying and that she just wanted to burn off some energy. So knew who Professor Baki was and that she should have told Yae earlier. She wanted to know if Yae would skip class just to go with her. Yae replied that he would if it were any other class, something the blonde noticed because he didn't hesitate for even a second. Despite blushing, Zoe said goodbye to Yae, though he wanted to know where she was going. Zoe asked him if he would accompany her if she told him, but Yae couldn't answer. In room 605, Professor Baki was teaching her class on psychology and social media. Yae wasn't paying attention because he was more interested in why Zoe wasn't replying to his messages. He wondered if he should skip class, knowing that Zoe would have given him a great gift if he had agreed to go with her. However, he pushed those thoughts aside because his father had threatened him before, saying that if he failed the class, he would no longer support him. While Yae didn't care much about his grades, the support was another story. Yae figured Zoe might ignore him from now on. At that moment, he received a message, which left him quite surprised. It was from Zoe. She had sent him a picture with the number 307. Yae wondered what this sinful photo could mean. The girl simply commented that since he had decided to abandon her, she wanted to cheer him up a little. Yae questioned why she deleted the photo so quickly, but then she sent another one with the comment that she was enjoying the air conditioning. Yae wondered why she was sending him all these pictures. Zoe kept sending more, saying it seemed like the air conditioning had broken because she was still feeling hot. Yae blushed even more at everything that was happening, thinking the girl was crazy. She sent even more photos, saying she was hungry since she hadn't eaten anything and would love something like a hot dog to satisfy her hunger. This made Yae blush even more, because the blonde clearly wanted to pray again, even though he also wanted to go with her. Zoe told him to forget everything and focus on his class since she would handle it herself. These words made Yae worry, as they could mean she no longer needed him. Later, he thought Zoe might find someone else to pray with, which explained what she had meant. Yae felt like a fool, knowing that Zoe was very popular at the university, and that many guys were after her. Additionally, since it was his first mass with her, Yae realized it had been special to pray with someone. He wondered if his misery was worth more than her. Taking a deep breath, he exhaled, then turned to look at Luna. He tried to get her attention by poking her in the ribs, which made her blush when she saw it was Yae pointing to the floor, signaling her to stay quiet. Moon was confused. Ye showed her his phone, where he had written that he needed a favor. He explained that if he picked up his bag, the professor would notice and asked if she could take it for him after class. In exchange, he would treat her to a meal. Luna whispered that he was crazy, and that if he got caught, he would fail automatically. I agreed, embarrassing Luna further. He explained that while his grades were a priority, he now had something more important. The redhead wondered why her heart skipped a beat at that moment, and didn't understand why she agreed. Regardless, Yae trusted her and left, leaving Luna blushing and wondering if this was the same Yae she knew. That afternoon, in a magical town, Yae arrived at the room where Zoe might be. He remembered the card she had been biting. It was for room 307. Feeling nervous, Yae considered the possibility that Zoe might have called someone else, or that she might no longer like him. The blonde opened the door and welcomed him, saying she knew he would come. She grabbed his shirt and pulled him inside, closing the door. Yae assumed she had been waiting for him behind the door, which Zoe confirmed because she had been eagerly anticipating his arrival. She was very hungry and drooling, something Yae couldn't help but notice. Zoe asked Yae if he was okay, knowing how strict Professor B was and that if she had caught him trying to leave, he would have immediately failed. Yae didn't regret it, which made Zoe blush, though she knew the consequences of losing his scholarship and not receiving his stipend. Still, it didn't bother her much because she wasn't at an age to worry about such things. She trusted him to cheer her up for quite a while. They began their mass, and amidst their prayers, Yae teased Zoe because she had started doing the same to him when he was in class. Zoe wanted to be punished, but Yae forgave her, cleansing all traces of malice from her soul. They were so focused on praying that they didn't hear Yae's phone ringing. Luna was calling, cursing the boy for not answering and feeling nervous because there were many empty seats that day. The professor had decided to start taking attendance, and Luna wondered why Yae had to skip class, praying he would pick up the phone. Yae was entirely focused on purifying Zoe's soul and didn't notice his phone. During a break, Yae started wondering what his relationship with Zoe really was. He didn't know if they were friends with benefits or something more, and he didn't want to ruin what they had by asking. Zoe, however, was focused on the chalice, which began glowing again. Seeing her happy and smiling, Yae decided to put his questions aside for the moment, and they continued their prayers. After 3 Our Fathers, Zoe collapsed from exhaustion. Yae decided to check his phone and noticed many missed calls from Luna. Upon opening the messages, he saw that she had been asking him to pick up the phone. A new call from Luna startled Yae, but when he answered, she chillingly thanked him for finally picking up and asked to meet with him immediately. A week later, Yae thought he was going to die after hearing Luna's angry tone, but nothing happened in the end, and he arrived home safely. He wondered if he was safe thanks to her, as Luna had helped him avoid getting a bad grade in the class he had skipped. He remembered that day when Luna handed him a black bag with stomach medicine. This was to justify his absence, as the professor had taken attendance and he had to leave to get his medication. Yae was impressed that Luna wanted to see him just for that, and hadn't informed him via text. For her, it was better to say things in person to avoid misunderstandings, especially since Yae had entrusted everything to her, and she didn't want to seem irresponsible by leaving abruptly. Returning to the present, Yae thought Luna hated him, but now he knew that wasn't the case. However, he also considered that if she made up that excuse for him and waited, she might like him. At that moment, Luna whispered to him to check his phone, surprising Yae. Upon checking, he found a message from the redhead asking him to stop staring at her and warning that she wouldn't help him again. To Yae, that meant she didn't like him. Eventually, their group met again, but this time Zoe couldn't join them due to some issues. Luna asked if Yae had a problem with that, which he immediately denied. The redhead encouraged them to stay focused and finish their presentation for the next day. Yae noticed her attitude after apologizing and saw her as a leader he could trust. He also noticed something else had changed. When he looked at John, she seemed prettier. So much so that he wondered if it was really her. John noticed his gaze and asked Yae directly if something was wrong, since he couldn't stop staring, and asked if she had something on her face. Yae, feeling nervous, replied that he wasn't wearing his glasses. John explained that she had switched to contact lenses on the recommendation of a friend, who had told her she looked great. Yae agreed, saying she looked beautiful, which embarrassed her. Luna confirmed that John's eyes looked brighter without her glasses, and Yae agreed that she seemed like a different person without them, also noticing her change in attire and how fabulous she looked. At that moment, Yae felt something touch his foot, making him yell. Luna asked what was wrong, and Yae excused himself, saying his foot had fallen asleep from sitting for so long. Luna told him to take a break if he needed it. Yae was more absorbed in his thoughts, wondering if what he felt was John's foot, and if she was pretending nothing had happened, especially with Luna there. John showed him one of the flans she had brought, leaving him intrigued about what had happened and why she did it so suddenly. Luna immediately yelled because she had forgotten to talk to the class president, which relieved Yae, thinking they had been caught. Luna apologized, saying she had to take the call, leaving him in charge of finding the topics. John seemed happy and asked Yae if, since Luna was gone, she could make any kind of noise she wanted. Yae asked what was wrong with her, but she studied as they had promised, wanting to know what would happen if she touched a guy's foot with hers without anyone knowing. She asked Yae if there was any problem, assuming he was jealous because she teased him. John suggested that Yae could also tease her to see what would happen. Even though Yae was embarrassed by what was happening, John didn't understand why he was acting that way. This left Yae even more confused, so John asked him directly if he really didn't notice. This made Yae feel even more foolish. John exclaimed that he had been avoiding her since that night, as every time she called him, his phone was busy, and when she texted, she got the same response. She thought he would meet with her privately at least once, but he hadn't even called her after their team meeting. She wanted to be brave and tell him again, assuming he didn't like praying with her that time. Yae instantly denied it, so John asked why he hadn't sought her out until now. He couldn't say that he hadn't because he had been looking for her every day. Still, John didn't care if he didn't explain, as she knew his chalice was glowing when he started cleaning it. Yae asked what they would do if Luna saw them doing something else. John said she would stop if she heard footsteps, but was upset that Yae hadn't sought her out and wanted to get back at him for it. She could never forget it. At that moment, Yae heard Luna's heels approaching, putting him in a tight spot. It wasn't a good idea for them to be seen. When Luna arrived and opened the door, she apologized for the delay, but only found everything in disarray. Luna asked what had happened, and Yae explained that he saw a cockroach and got scared, which also frightened Luna. He later clarified that he had only seen a button. Later, both John and Yae were walking, but Yae was scared about how close they had been to getting caught. For John, it was exciting because she could taste the holy water, and she really liked it. To Yae, John seemed reckless, but she looked more like a scared kitten. Yae wanted their next mass to take place in more private locations, not in public, because his head would explode. He was tired of that kind of thing. John approached him from behind and asked where he was going. Yae replied that he was going home because the meeting was over, but John didn't see it that way, as they still had a pending mass, and she wanted to study with him on how to pray properly to become believers in God. John reminded him that he promised to solve any doubts about the word of the Lord and teach her, even if it took all night. She also reminded him that she had paid for his taxi that day and wanted to return the favor now. She then asked Yae what he would do, leave or stay. Both entered a magical town without noticing that Luna saw everything. She wondered what was going on between John and Yae. That same night, Luna was taking a bath and wondering if Yae and John were dating. She remembered a particular smell on Yae, the same perfume Sue used. She had noticed it in the classroom, and when they met to hand him the medicine, Luna became alarmed, realizing that Yae might be deceiving both of them. She didn't understand why he spent so much time with John and Sue, but then denied this, thinking that maybe John believed him. But she didn't think that was possible because Yae was a nobody. Luna wondered what Yae and John were doing at that moment. She remembered moments from a night everyone had forgotten and told herself she was crazy since she had promised not to think about it again. However, Luna noticed that her soul was being corrupted. Meanwhile, John and Yae continued their prayers. John wanted to believe in a God and asked Yae to guide her. At one moment, the girl seemed to have a commotion. Yae was scared because Sue had explained that everything in prayer needed to have rhythm. He apologized to John for losing control, but for her, it was amazing, as she felt her soul had been completely purified. Although she made a silly face, she asked Yae to guide her again on the path of the Lord. They continued with their prayers, but suddenly Yae spilled his holy water. Despite that, John smiled for no specific reason. It felt good that the boy had spilled the water, as if it was a moment where she had won. This made Yae notice how pretty John looked, and he thought the same as when he was with Zoe, wondering if she saw him as a normal person. At that moment, John showed him a drawing she had made, 1 of 10 since he had taught her about God's blessing, always inspired by various scenes. Now, John wanted to learn from Yae and experience the good fortune of believing in a God. For this reason, she asked to continue their mass. Yae started to think about what kind of relationship they had since he didn't see it as a normal one. He asked John directly if they were dating, which left her blushing. She wasn't very sure, but assumed she could become his girlfriend. Yae told her not to force herself if she didn't see it that way, though John denied that. She preferred to try more things with him and didn't think he saw her that way. John then asked if he wanted to be her boyfriend, and Yae agreed to go out with her. Then John asked if he loved her, or if it was just a casual date. She was sure it was more likely the second option, but wanted Yae to be honest, because she was curious. She thought he liked her because he always seemed caring and attentive to her, understanding her and knowing her hobbies, but she wasn't sure. She didn't know if this thought came from wanting to be his partner or simply seeing him as a good person. It felt strange how it all started, and how neither of them had thought about the other's feelings before. She didn't take things lightly, and sensed that if they let this thought pass, they might regret it later. Because of this, John proposed a deal. She asked Yae to pause his suggestion of dating for now. If they continued seeing each other and her heart finally decided what it felt for him, she would confess. She hoped this was okay for the moment. These words echoed in Yai's head, as he didn't expect John to be so direct or to confess her feelings. Even so, John liked how honest Yai was, and they resumed their mass, this time with their feelings clearer. Their souls were freed from any doubts and worries. Feeling rehabilitated, John stopped hugging Yai only because the last bus was about to leave. Aside from that, John proposed one more thing to Yai. Whenever they sent each other a message with the number 1, it would mean they wanted to have a mass, and if they were tired or busy, they would send a 0. This would be a secret just between them. A week after that, Luna was hugging Yai, though he was quite embarrassed. With this, we finished the second part of this manhwa. I hope you all liked it. If you did, please leave a nice like, subscribe, and activate the notification bell for more videos. Thank you so much for your support, and I'll see you in the next part. Goodbye.